and welcome back to the New Friends podcast. I am your host, Silvia Manuela, and I am so happy to be here and to still be recording. Season 3 is coming to an end. This is the last episode for Season 3, and I'm very happy to close the door on Season 3. We had a lot of good times, a lot of great guests, some really hard personal triumphs for me. So I am just ready for a new year. I'm ready for the new year. I'm ready for some closing of some chapters in my life. I'm ready to move forward and just find some new things that bring me joy. Where do I start? I just got to get into it. The last time I talked to you guys, I was going to be heading to the Folklore Festival with Palma, and we definitely did that. That was a great success. The magazine has been a great success. Going to all of these events have been so enlightening and inspiring. And every time I go to a festival or an event and I meet new people and I hear new people that are listening to the radio stations, it really makes me so happy that there are over 2,000 people with the Palma app right now. And that is a lot of people. And I'm just so grateful for the people that have been a part of this movement. We have been putting out the word Je te sens unida for the past year, and you guys are going to see a campaign come out with that soon. And it is really just a beautiful thing that our generation continues to support one another. And I just see a lot of positive change in our community. So I'm just so proud of all of you that are continuing to show your children to like and comment and engage and read and view, and even the haters that are still listening and viewing, thank you so much. Any support is gladly taken. So heading to the Folklore Festival, I wanted to make the Palma magazine very folklore heavy for at least 2 months. And I just want to say thank you to all of the groups that helped contribute to that. Everyone was super easygoing, and it was such a great success being able to help boost the Folklore Festival in California this year. And I think that we did a pretty dang good job in doing that. Booths were brought to the festival for the first time. We had Slow to Be there, Luzo, PFSA, myself with Palma doing live streams and all of that. And we had a great time getting to know some of the groups from Canada that they invited over. And Group Mar Alto was the hosting group, and they were amazing. If you guys are listeners, I love you guys. You guys were awesome, so friendly, so sweet, and such a great group. So just want to thank everyone over there at the Folklore Festival that engaged with us and that were so sweet to us, from the people in the kitchen to just the entire event. It was such a great success, and I want to thank you guys for trusting Palma with that and allowing me to get to know the folklore world in a different way, because usually I was participating in the Folklore Festival. So being that I was behind the scenes, I even got to see more so how much work it takes into creating such a beautiful event. So thank you to everybody for that. And thank you for the people that went and showed up. And Saint Duvida was playing Conjun Saint Duvida. They're always a good time. I always have such a great time talking to those guys. And they kept the dance floor filled the entire night. The youth just had a great time. So that was a great success. Now, the day before Folklore Festival, I unfortunately had a very good friend of mine pass away. His name is Abel Martins, and he was a big-time musician in the community, very ample into our music world, into our Portuguese world, and he just is so greatly missed. Want to just get a little bit into our friendship, because this is something that I feel like is huge that happened to me in my life in the past couple months, and it's been really hard to stomach the loss of my friend Abel. So I want to start with a little bit of our background. Abel and I met probably when I was 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. It was around the same time that he started a band called Conjunto Raça, or Raça, however you guys want to roll your R's or not roll your R's. But that was his baby conjunto. That was a group, that a band that he started, and they've had so much success for, I think, about 2 decades at least. A lot of different singers, a lot of different musicians came in and out of that band, and they were just a very highly musically skilled band, and we're spoiled with our bands out here. They're incredible. So that's when, around the time that I met him, my best friend at the time, who was 14, she's a year younger than me, she sang like a few songs with them for a little bit. It was a very short-lived thing, but that's how we met. Well, at least myself. I think she had known them before, but myself met all of the conjunto people, and that was kind of my first go at getting away from the community that I grew up in and all of my cousins and stuff that played in conjuntos, and I went to the San Jose, California area, which is heavily populated with Portuguese people, heavily populated with philharmonicas. So when you have a lot of philharmonicas, that means you have a lot of musicians. In turn, we've made conjuntos out of these wonderful musicians in the community. So that's when I was introduced to the world of the conjunto world. And as you guys know, I sing, and the first time I ever started singing in band, I was about 19. So it was a few years before I started heavily singing in anything, but it was so much fun getting to know those guys and just being able to bandwagon their practices because I was best friends with one of the singers at the time. So that's how I met Abel. But Abel was from the Newark, California area where he lived and grew up. So being that my best friend also lived in Newark, he was always around us and was always in our like routine and schedule because he was just so close. So if we went to the hall, it was like we were either going to Abel's before, after, during the hall because he lived across the street from the hall. And we were talking with one another and we were like, do you think that Abel ever told us no to go to his house? I don't think there was one time where Abel told us, no, you're not coming. I can't have visitors or whatever. It was always, even when he wasn't there, he would be like, I'm not there right now, but this part's open. If you want to get in, if you need to get in, like that is the epitome of Abel. He was just always just helping if we needed something. Like he couldn't really say no. I mean, all at the same time of him being super, super stubborn man and very tough at the same time. But for his friends, he would do anything. So in those years, he built up Kunshulhasa. He was in playing for UP, for the Philharmonica, dabbling with sound here and there, teaching musicians, just all of us were Festa kids and just were involved in so many different aspects and ways. So we were always in and around each other, and Abel and I had a little spurts where we were obviously hanging out and closer than other. And the latest time that we were close was right before we both settled down. And it was kind of like my single era and Abel's single era and our friend Kevin's single era. And we would just go out all the time. And being that I've always been a conjunto girl, I'm so used to being the only girl. And I was always hanging out with all the guys. And unless it was, my core girls who don't even live around me anymore, which is so annoying. But that's a different story. Oh, let me drink my cafe. So that's kind of just how we met. There wasn't like a time I remember like, hey, this is Abel, this is Silvia. But it was just being Portuguese kids in the Portuguese world. And Abel was one of the first people to live out on his own. So organically, everybody was always there. We also have a social club in Newark too. So there was like the big hall, the social club, the Newark Sports Club, and Abel's house. And it was like a big fat triangle. It's like you were either at the three of those if, you were with me, Natalia, in those days, or, in the musician world. Abel and I had such a fun friendship. We would just hang out. I mean, I'd go to his house and we would just sit at his like bar counter and we would just be on YouTube and we would show each other songs that we liked, and he'd bring out his guitar and I'd sing to it, and we try to learn like a verse and a chorus and voice memo it and laugh and talk about how he sucked, and it was just a great friendship. Times where we would go out to festas and we would go back to his house and everybody would be back at his house and he'd have the fire pit going, and it was just a big fat circle around the fire pit, and everybody was singing, talking, like everyone was in 1,000 different conversations. It would just be so many times where me and Abel were just like the ones in the corner with the guitar, and she cries so much when I think of it because it was honestly some of the best times of my life, just sitting there with him and doing like canterillas and saying awful things about people in our canterilla and laughing so hard. It happens like every single time I genuinely think about a memory of us. I'm like left shaking and gasping because it's really hard to stomach that I've lost another friend, you guys. And some of you guys have listened to the episodes in the past and have heard the story about Andrew and losing Andrew. Abel was the first person that I like hugged and cried in his arms over Andrew. Abel was the one that helped me rehearse for the music that I sang at Andrew's service. The recording that you guys see in my Instagram of the slideshow of me with my friend Andrew, that's Abel playing guitar. That's me and him. So it's just shouldn't have happened. It's not supposed to happen. But then it just feels like everybody is dying left and right in our community right now. I haven't even gotten through telling you through like the first heartache. So Abel had moved, me settled down. I met my husband, I settled down. And it wasn't that we weren't friends. It's just our life, just life. Just life happens. And I had heard through the grapevine that he had moved back. And I told the band that I sing for, and everyone was so excited. And ongoing joke is that we don't have a keyboard player, and that people think that we maybe should have a keyboard player, which we don't think that at all. But we're like, we would get Abel in front of any other keyboard or musician or anything like that. Like, we want Abel. And it was always this like ongoing thing that we'd always say. So in my mind, I thought, I'm going to sing with him. I'm going to literally be in a band with him. I'm going to have all my Abel time again. Like, he's just the best. And anyone that talks about Abel, he's just the best. So I feel really guilty that I never reached out to him in the 5 months, but I've talked to his brother and friends and stuff like that. And it's just, a lot of people feel the same way and wish they reached out, but I am forever grateful that I got the phone call that he was in the hospital. And I'll never forget that. And my friend had called me that he's in the hospital, and we planned to go see him in the hospital. I was so nervous. It reminded me of when I didn't see my grandma for like 14 months after COVID, and she had been in a home. It'd be the first time seeing her. I remember being so scared to know what she looked like or anything like that. I made the drive, and so grateful for that I was able to see him. And I got into the room, and I was able to tell him how much I loved him so much that I think that was the first thing that came out of my mouth. I just held his hand and I said, Abel, I love you. I really, really do love him so much. It was really hard seeing him in this state that he was, because he was just so tough, He's just a tough, stubborn Portuguese man. And seeing him vulnerable like that, and seeing him in a way that, like, I know that he genuinely didn't want any of us to see him like that, but so grateful for his brother and for getting that phone call from Angela that within the 2 weeks. And I had planned to go see him again, but his brother had let us know that he had chosen to life care, as he was not going to have any quality of life. And I respect Abel so much for that decision. Like, if I didn't already think highly of Abel, like, I think so highly of him. And especially in that decision, in that moment, I will always admire Abel as a person, as a musician, as a friend. And I will always keep his stories and our memories alive. And it's really hard to go through these types of things when you have put yourself in a position to be somewhat of a public figure, and you still have contracts and events to show up to, and you're crumbling on the inside. And I've just gotten so good at disassociating my heart to my brain to everything. Like, I'm just so good at pretending nothing bad is happening. So the day after Abel passed away, I had to do folklore festival, and I had to be on live streams, and I had to pretend like it didn't happen. And I remember when my friend came up to me and just like asked me about it, and it clicked in my head like, shit, that did just happen. And I had to disassociate again. So it's so hard. It's so hard to do that. But as an entertainer, as somebody that has put themselves in a position to do things like live streams and interview and do things like that, I have to fulfill these obligations as well. I was honored and invited to sing at Abel's celebration of life, and it was like singing with a lump in your throat and a hole in your heart. But like I said, I'm so honored. And so if I didn't sound perfect or good or anything, it's not an easy thing to do. But such a privilege and an honor. And of course, Nelson Medeiros and Andre Piu, they helped me do the arrangement. The guys that are in Zodiac in my band. And we performed a version of Amazing Grace. See if I posted or not. We were able to honor his legacy. We had some other musicians go up and play. Peter Pasquale, Joe Amaral, and Brian Flores played Ave Maria with their horns, and Tony B did the sound, and it was just a collaboration of people that have adored him and valued his friendship and just wanted to pay respects and also give him a send-off that maybe helped explain the legacy that he built as in the music world. A lot of us are suffering with his loss. So I am just praying for everyone. And I'm sorry that this is end of season 3, but I think we all have to go through it. We all have to process it and really go through it to be able to mourn, to be able to grieve. And a lot of times I can't go through it yet, if that makes any sense. I had to hold it in because I had the folklore festival. The next weekend, I had to hold it together for my kids for their Halloween camping. The weekend after, I had to still go to Pismo. So I just couldn't grieve yet. And last week, I was on my way to work and I just start bawling. And it was just my heart hurting thinking about Abel. And I realized, oh my God, I have not even processed that he's gone. I had a good cry that day, for sure. My poor husband, he thought something was wrong with me because I'm calling him at 6 a.m. just crying my eyes out. But it's definitely an imprint in my heart and a hole that is left there and a little bit of an empty space that always will have that shoulda, coulda, woulda. And I wish that I would have reached out to him. And when I made that video, you guys, I tagged him and he didn't say anything when I had thanked him on it, but I didn't think anything of it because that was just the friendship we had. We didn't have to say anything. We just love each other, and no matter if we're close to this moment of our life or not. I'm going to share some audio from our fun times singing and playing together, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. So I'll put it at the end of this episode. So yeah, our community has gone through a lot of loss. A few weeks later, some of my good friends also lost special people in their lives. So I just want to quickly, I don't want to explain anything or anything like that, but I just want to quickly send my love, my heart, and my prayers to David Garcia, who was also a guest on the podcast. You guys, he's a Fadishta here. He lost his father. So I love you so much, David. And Brian, his husband, was just on the podcast. So my prayers are going out to their family and everything. I just hate my people hurting. So I'm so sorry that you guys are going through that. One of my closest friends who was pretty much my first guest on the podcast, who has always been extremely supportive of me. It has been a huge part of my life. Angela Ditu Baldwin, she lost her husband. And I just want to say to those of us that are all hurting, I'm so sorry. Of course, prayers and just pray for my people, you guys. Pray for my community because, in the same week that David lost his dad, he lost his cousin and he lost Robert, who was Angela's husband, and, all good friends and good family. And it's just really rough right now. It's just really rough. And it's just hard to be there for everyone. And it's hard to process it all because it's just so fresh and so new. So just send some love, send some prayers and some good vibes for the people of our community here in Northern California, guys, because it's been so rough. And we will all get through this together. I love you guys so much. Moving forward, basically around the time that I went and visited Abel at the hospital, I was really going through a hard time. I was very nervous, I guess I could say, and I was very scared because for months now I had noticed a lump in my stomach, and I was frustrated because it seemed like it was getting bigger. And as you guys know, I've been kind of struggling gaining weight from losing so much weight from the medication that I was on when I was diagnosed with the ADD. Misdiagnosed with ADD. I really have ADHD. Well, that's a story for another day. So because I lost all this weight, I'm like looking at my body more and everything. And I found a lump, and in that time the lump was like has moved or like got bigger or smaller, and it was just weird. And so I had made an appointment to just get it checked out. Well, when I went into this appointment, the doctor, I can't even tell you how rushed I was. It was so rushed. She barely touched me. She barely felt me. And then she was like, all right, well, we're just going to take an x-ray. I'm like, okay, take an x-ray. She responds back like, as expected, all of your blood work is fine and there's nothing to see in the x-ray. And of course, as the youngest sister, and maybe some of the young siblings, the youngest of the siblings can agree with this, I am so if my sister tells me that's what I need to do, I'm just going to follow that protocol. So I don't naturally ask questions. I'm like, well, that's how you said we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Because as the youngest, you're always told how to do things and when to do things, and you're not really problem solving yourself as much in things like appointments. It sounds so immature, but I've had to train myself how to be my own advocate because I was taken to the doctor for so many years, and then I would just, anything that happened to me in my pregnancies or anything like that, I was like, so sister, did this happen to you? And then she just has always told me what to do, you guys. So I called my sister and I was like, yeah, so this and or that happened. And she's like, okay, well, x-ray is not going to show you anything. You need an MRI. So lava oil. I'm like, lady, you and I both know an x-ray is not going to do shit. I need an MRI. But I had told her that months later because the thing had gotten bigger and it had moved and I had felt it. And then I started inventing things in my mind that it was giving me pains and I literally saw my life flash before my eyes, and I thought that I was going to have cancer and I was going to die and I was leaving all my kids. That was the mindset that I was in, and I was getting more and more frustrated that I felt not heard and misunderstood. And I had been battling a lot of things, because now that I'm not on the medication for the ADD, I think that I can now be aware of how bad I have it because I had never had anything to compare it to. So now that I've felt my brain all in a nice file cabinet filed away, and then you go back to kind of chaotic brain. Yeah, it's a hard transition. So basically months later, I'm like, look, lady, this thing is now moving and grooving and I am demanding an MRI. And so the MRI caught, which if you honestly, like, if you've never been in an MRI scan before and you go into that small tube, it is so hard. And I'm not claustrophobic. I'm not somebody that gets like weird in those spaces, but it was really hard. And then the sounds that it makes, and I just was so sad for the people that have to always do them. I feel so sad for that noise because it must be so traumatizing. But I got the scan, and in the scan, they found fatty tissue. So I just went off on my doctor, and I was just like, you failed me. You failed me. You brushed me off. She's like, well, I didn't feel anything. And I'm like, but I did. And I told you that I did. And you thought I was making it up. I was so mad. And I was saying, you better hope that this is nothing. We ended up doing, I think it's called a CAT scan after that, like emergency CAT scan, because they saw some fatty tissue and they couldn't distinguish what it was. With the CAT scan, with the, what is it called when they do the ink? I forgot what it's called. But where they inject you with the dye so they can see what it is or whatever it may be. They didn't see any abnormalities or anything like that, but it's like, what is it? So I was in a weird place. I feel like I had a lot of anger during those times. And when I saw Abel in the hospital bed, I kind of like was so scared to be in that state too. Like, it was just all these fears because of that. Now, my doctor has asked me if I want to get another referral out. I can't remember the type of doctor it is. And I haven't responded to it yet. And I think I am going to push further out, even though I think that if I didn't lose the weight, I wouldn't see the lump. And I do think it has a little bit to do with pregnancies and pushing and things like that. But I do just want to make sure, just so everything is okay, because I mean, there were just so many signs with the rapid weight loss, the fogginess and everything. So I really freaked myself out, but I am going to go further with that. So as far as season 3 ending for me, I need it to. I need to step away from fear. I need to accept the things that I cannot control. And I need to be able to feel the grievances for myself and for my friends. Like, I think I just have done such a great job at disassociating my real feelings because it was my way of protecting myself. I haven't sang in public in 10 years. So singing at Abel's service was the first time in like 10 years that anyone has ever heard me sing. And Zodiac just got their first gig on New Year's, and it'll be the first time performing to that capacity in like 10 years. And it's with a group of people that I just admire so much and I love so much. And I was telling my husband this the other day. I was like, I respect them so much and I love them so much because I know that they love me so much and they respect me so much. And it's been only positive in that little studio of where we practice and they have no idea how healing they've been for me. And through everything that I've been through, they don't even know half of the shit that I've been dealing and battling with. And to have that rehearsal once a week and to be able to just sing my heart out and have a group of men that just literally will do anything to make me sound my very best and have just taken me under their wings so much. And we have created such a tight bond with one another. Know that like this is meant for me. This is the path that I'm supposed to be on. And I'm lucky with the people that I get to do it with. And my friend Kevin said, like, I love seeing people in positions that they deserve. And I've been working my ass off with Zodiac, you guys don't even know. Like, I've learned like 40 songs, and the caliber of the musicians that I'm dealing with here is top tier. And it came in as such a weak link. And the recordings from my first practice till now is night and day. I don't sound like the same singer that you guys knew in the past. I'm a completely different singer, a different artist, a different person. It has changed me indefinitely. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be a part of this next chapter for Zodiac. Zodiac is such a iconic and has such a legacy and is such a like a band of first. Like they were truly like the first to like bring in the horns and have that Latin flavor in our Portuguese music, and we're continuously creating and having original songs, and we hope to be the change of Portuguese music indefinitely. And I hope that you guys are along for that ride. And as much as the Zodiac pages are not active, that is not my fault. These guys care way more about the music and the sound than they do social media. So follow our social media because I'm going to be forcing them to post more often. I'm sorry if the dogs were barking this entire episode, but this is the sound you're going to get. I don't have the energy to do much editing. I already recorded another episode from season 4 and I haven't even ended season 3, but that's just how life has been. So when it comes to Conjunto Zodiac, you guys better keep your eyes wide open because we're coming in with the vengeance. I'm so excited, you guys. It feels so good that we finally get to perform after almost a whole year practicing together. And I remember the first practice, I remember Sergio, our drummer, said, Sylvia, I don't really give a shit if it takes you a year to get all of our shit, because they have majority of their music's original music and they really have taken so much time on me, and I've really worked so hard for this moment, and I'm so excited to buy my outfits because I feel like it's my reward. It's my reward for all this damn hard work is a cute outfit. But I want to thank you guys again for continuing on this journey with me. It's been so sad lately, but I hope to be a bigger voice in season 4 and introducing you all to creators. We have a lot of people in 4th season that are like just different people. Some my friends from California, but all over. I really want to expand this into the East Coast and Canada and bring all of the friends and people that I've met through this. I've met so many cool people through doing this podcast, and I just can't wait till we can sit down and chat with all of them. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I hope it wasn't too sad. I hope that you guys enjoy some of these solo episodes where I take you into some of my life's reality, because being a person that is on camera, you have to pretend you're happy when you're not. And I actually had this conversation when Palma was in Pismo, which was a great success. I had this conversation with one of the Portuguese kids, like, how do you guys do it? I know some of them have lost their fathers and continue to perform and make people laugh. And in these times when you're trying to make people laugh and be happy and be positive and peppy, you've had so much loss in your personal life. And it is truly the motto, the show must go on. And that's all I'm doing. So as long as you guys are continuing to enjoy this content, and I have the messages that I have, that I've helped people seek help and work on themselves and do the work necessary to understand yourself and maybe why you react certain ways or why you treat people certain ways. It's never too late to break out of old habits. It's never too late to break generational curses. It's never too late to be a good friend. It's never too late to change. You don't have to be the same person your entire life. And I think that's what life is growing and evolving and understanding maybe why you were a certain way so that we can do better. And if you know better, do better. I love you guys. Até logo, like my avó used to say, até amanhã se Deus quiser. I'm going to send it off with a funny ass video from 2017 of me and Abel messing around, shooting the shit, playing some pop tunes, and I tell him to vai cagar. I love you guys so much. Rest in peace, descansa em paz, to all the beautiful angels that we have watching us from above. I love you guys. My heart, my love, everything goes to anybody hurting and suffering right now. I'm here if you guys ever need a lending hand. And don't forget to follow me on all social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple. Subscribe, rate, comment, engage, like. I love you. Beijing.
We're rushing. You know just what to say. Shit that scares me, I should just walk away. But I can't move my feet. The more that I know you, the more I want to. Something inside me's changed. I was so much younger yesterday. Hey. So easy. I didn't know that I was starving till I tasted you. Don't need no butterflies when you give me the whole dance. You didn't even switch.
Fucking my hand's hurting.
Fucking A.
It's the easiest song ever.
And then your hand's hurting.
I can't. I have carpal tunnel in my hands.
Oh, fuck, I got it. Are we doing it again? You can do it? Are we starting from the top?
Sure.
You know just what to say. Shit that scares me, I should just walk away. But I can't move my feet. The more that I know you, the more I want to. Something inside me's changed. I was so much younger yesterday. Oh, I didn't know that I was starving till I tasted you. Don't need no butterflies when you give me the whole dance. By the way, you do things to my body. I didn't know that I was starving till I tasted you. By the way, oh, fucking man. I can't believe.
That sounded pretty good for a while.
That was like the worst